Yes, hello and welcome once again to the Young Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. I am your host, Angel, coming to you live from Orlando, Florida. Listen, today is Monday, so happy Mindset Monday. That's right. We're beginning a new week, so listen, I hope you guys could tune in all the way to the end because we're going to have some great content today. I have a special guest today. Listen, you're going to want to listen about if you want to develop your leadership skills, you feel that you are already a leader, listen, I have an important guest that you need to tune in. Okay, also, we're going to be talking about this book you see right here. Before we get into all of that, as you already know, the audio download will be available and is available on the Anchor podcast, all right, Google Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Pandora, you name it, wherever you like to tune in to get your podcast, look up the Young Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast, and please follow me there. Give me a review, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Also on Twitter, you can follow me under Angel Santos 75 and on Instagram under Angel Santos Podcast. All right, folks. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it because the time of this man is valuable, and I am so honored and thrilled to have him here. His name is Dr. William Attaway, and listen, he has this book right here, Catalytic Leadership. We're going to be talking about what is that, right? What is that type of leadership? He has an amazing story, so please tune in to the end and leave us a comment as well, and subscribe to the channel. All right, guys. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring him along. Mr. William, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Angel. How are you?
I am excellent. Thank you so much. Listen, I am so thrilled and honored, guys. He actually sent me this book when we first met. He's like, don't worry, it's going to be in the mailbox soon. And listen, I got my book here. I got my copy. I got it personalized and signed. So thank you very much, Mr. William. And catalytic leadership. We're going to be talking about that just in a moment. But first of all, how are you today, sir?
Man, I'm great. It's just such an honor to be on your show. Thanks for inviting me.
No, man. Thank you. Thank you for accepting the invite. And just for, I like to get this started with for the audience to get to know, of course, my invites here, my guests and whatnot. Just talk about briefly about your story. You growing up. I know you're Arthur, right? You also are a leader. You're a leader in your church. They're just outside of Washington D.C., right? So go ahead and talk about your story. You're growing up with your I don't know if you have siblings, your parents or whatnot.
That's great intro, man. Let me. I'm a husband first. I'm a father. I've been a husband for 24 years. Been a father for almost 18 of those, and we
Wow,
have two teenage daughters. One of whom's getting ready to go to college this fall. I
that's
don't. I
amazing.
don't feel that old, but apparently I am.
Yeah.
I get to serve as the pastor of Southview Community Church outside of Washington, D.C. in Herndon, Virginia. And I'm a leadership coach. I help leaders to intentionally grow and thrive by coaching them, helping them to see what they can't see so that they can address what needs to be addressed. So
Exactly.
that's what I do. And so much of that came out of an outgrowth from when I was a kid. When I was 15, I had a high school teacher who saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And he invited me to attend a leadership conference. And I was hooked. I have been a student of leadership now for over 30 years and have been writing and coaching leaders for over 2 decades of that.
Wow. So wait a minute. So you're 15 years old. So you're actually a young entrepreneur at that time. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to mention the year, guys. Okay, let's not.
That's right.
All
We'll
right.
leave that be. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just a few pounds back,
That's right. That's right.
right? That's what I said. I said I just gained a couple pounds throughout the
That's
years.
right.
That's all.
That's right.
Mr. Williams, so you're young, so you're 15, but what sparked? Like, how did that mind shift? Right. Speaking of mind shift, how did that? Like, what woke up inside you? Maybe or something said, "Wait a minute. If I'm not only in this conference, but I can do this, and I want to be a leader to a lot of generations ahead of me."
I think it awakened in me an understanding of what leadership could be, what leadership could accomplish. And
Okay.
I think that's true no matter your field of endeavor. So many of my clients now, my coaching clients, are entrepreneurs. They're solopreneurs. They're
Wow.
C-suite types. And as I coach them and help them to look at their lives a little bit differently, to see things from a different perspective, I
Okay.
understand in a fresh and new way the power of leadership. And that's what began to be awakened all those years ago in me.
Right. Okay, so how important? Let's start off with that question. How important is personal leadership growth to you?
I think it's I can't overestimate how
Yeah,
important that is, because here's the fact, Angel. Nobody is going to prioritize your development as a leader more than you do. You may
right.
have an HR department if you work in a corporate environment, an HR department that wants to help people develop and grow, and they have training workshops and whatnot.
Yeah,
But they're not going to prioritize your personal growth and development any more than you do. They'll offer some opportunities here and there.
yeah.
But what I challenge leaders to do is understand that you are driving the bus when it comes to your own development as a leader. What
Okay.
books are you reading? What podcasts are you listening to? Right?
Yeah.
What workshops and seminars and conferences are you attending? What leaders are you seeking out who are farther down the road than you are, so that you can learn from them and ask them questions? I can't tell you how many cups of coffee and lunches I've bought over the years from leaders who are further down the road than I am, that I
Yeah.
wanted to learn from. You always come prepared. You always come with questions. I think every opportunity like that is gold if you approach
Okay.
it with the right spirit.
Okay. So let's backing up just a little bit.
Yeah.
What leadership did you take? Like, did you take master classes, seminars, other books? What was the one book that you read that you just out the top of your mind you said this was a book that just changed my life?
Wow, man, that's a that's a big deal. As a pastor, I think it's required that I say the Bible, and I think the reason that I would say that in a leadership context is that every leadership principle that has ever been taught, every one that I teach, is
Yeah,
rooted in Scripture. And so I think, if you, it's the greatest leadership book ever written. So,
absolutely.
so I think that's going to be there. When it comes to books outside of that, I think
Yeah.
John Maxwell is one of the most prolific writers of our
Yes.
day on leadership. His book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership,
Yeah.
truly transformational for me. Man, there's just so many. That one
Yeah.
jumps out. There's Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. Phenomenal book on the power of the right questions. You'll never get to the right answers if you don't ask the right questions. And so
That's right.
there's so many books over the years.
That's awesome, man. And that's interesting. I asked that because there's so many books, but you're right on point with that. John Maxwell, he has, and I have a book of his somewhere also in my library. I see that you have a lot of books back there as well, so
I have, I
that's
have a
interesting.
I have a
And
book bit of a book problem. Yeah.
yeah, which is a good problem to have because I think as a leader, fundamental something that's very fundamental is reading.
Yeah.
Reading whether the scripture or even books about whether it's finance and whatnot.
Mhm.
Because I think deep down inside of all of us, and this is to all the young entrepreneurs out there, there's a leader inside all of us.
That's right.
It's just a matter of time that we discover it and then we start to develop. That happened to me.
That's right.
When I was young, just to give you a little bit of my story,
Yeah.
even at the age of 21, 25, I didn't have someone to develop me
Mhm.
personally, right? As a
Yeah.
leadership. In the workforce is where I started
Mhm.
gaining more experience as working, but then as leadership, because then you start going to different roles
Yeah.
of management. So that's where I got my leadership.
That's
Okay,
good.
so that's just the point to bring up that some people may not say, well, it's kind of hard. I don't have a mentor. I don't have that father figure or mother figure. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's different. Have you run into people that tell you that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The fact of the matter is that I didn't have a mentor handed to me on a platter.
Okay.
I've had to go and I've had to seek out people that I could ask to mentor me in a certain area. If you're looking for somebody to mentor you in every area in your life, that's going to be a hard find. And if you try to ask somebody, they're probably going to say no. But
Yeah.
if you go and you say, hey, in this area, you really seem to be excelling, and I think I can learn something from you. Could I
Okay.
buy you lunch? Could I buy you coffee? Could I just pick your brain and ask you some very specific questions around this topic or this area or this thing that you're doing?
Exactly.
That's what I've done. I think it's important for young leaders and old leaders. It doesn't matter to
Yeah.
learn as much as you can from as many people as you can about
Exactly.
as much as you can. And if you walk into life with that learning posture, that teachable spirit, I'll tell you, the opportunities will abound.
Exactly. That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's get into it, Mr. Williams. So what is catalytic leadership? Obviously, why the title? Like, what is that? We understand leadership, but
Mhm.
catalytic, like, what's specific about that word?
Yeah, when I went to college, I went as a pharmacy major because I thought I'd worked in a pharmacy and thought I could help people that way. That appealed
Okay.
to me. So I went there and I took chemistry and inorganic chemistry. And I got to organic chemistry and decided that, this is not really what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I said, gotta take a change here. But in my brief chemistry studies, I learned about a catalyst and the power of a catalyst. A catalyst is something that you introduce to accelerate or ignite significant change that makes a significant impact. And I had already been a student of leadership for a number of years by that point, and had learned from so many and about so many leaders. But when I came across that catalyst definition and saw the power and the potential of a catalyst, I thought, every great leader I've ever studied or every great leader I've ever learned from has been catalytic. They want to make a significant impact. They incite or accelerate significant change, either organizationally or in their team or their department. Wow. So that's always stuck with me, really, since then. And so
Yeah.
when I started my own coaching company and wrote this book during the pandemic, I said, that's where we're going to start. We're going to call it Catalytic Leadership, because I think that's the leadership that so many leaders aspire for. That's what they want. But how do you get there?
Exactly. Yeah, and this book, it just came out recently, right? January
In January.
this
That's right.
year?
That's right.
Okay. That's awesome. And what do you have other books? Is this the first one, or you had other books as
I
well?
did write one about in 2014 was my first book, and it came out of my experience as a pastor. It was based on 6 of the what we call the minor prophets in Scripture,
Okay.
and it's called Leadership Principles from the Not So Minor Prophets.
Okay. Okay. And can they get it at the website that I have here? That website, they could get it there as
Uh,
well?
Not at catalyticleadershipbook.com. That's just for the Catalytic Leadership book, but you can get it
Okay.
on Amazon. They're all available on Amazon.
Perfect. Okay. Okay. Then now I'll ask you to email me the link so I can put it in the
Yes,
description. Okay.
absolutely.
So now this may be a little bit backing up, because I know that your leadership developed as well, but through we had a conversation about this offline. And as like I told you, I also could relate to a cancer diagnostic, right? Your older daughter.
Mhm.
Go ahead and share that story, because I know I shared mine with you regarding my
Yeah,
wife and whatnot right before the pandemic. Stage 4 lung cancer, and
yeah.
that changes anybody's life. But in yours, your older daughter, not only get your diagnostic with this cancer, but then it develops a leadership side in you. Just explain that to us.
Sure. It was in the spring of 2019, March of 2019. So about a year before the pandemic hit.
Wow.
My older daughter, who was 14 at the time, had begun experiencing some headaches, and they didn't go away. And we went to the doctor and thought maybe she was developing migraines like I've experienced since I was about her age. And so they gave her some medicine. It didn't do the trick. And it just seemed to not get any better. It seemed to be getting a little bit worse. And so we went back to the doctor and ultimately ended up at the ER, where they said they wanted to run some tests,
Yeah.
and discovered very much out of the blue that she had a brain tumor pressing on the back right side of her brain. Now, we have no history of this. There's no flags or anything that makes you think this is going to happen. This is completely out of the blue. How do you deal with that? Well, we were very proactive. They took her by ambulance from there to a larger hospital than the one where we live.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, they do surgery. A pediatric neurosurgeon goes in, takes out the tumor, and 2 days later, she's home. And we start to wait, and we wait for the biopsy to see what this is. Is it benign or is it not? And 2 weeks later, those weeks were awful, as you might imagine, just waiting. 2
Yeah.
weeks later, we go and see the oncology team, and they tell us that it is not benign, that it's actually cancer. Ended up being a very rare form of cancer. Only about 50 teenagers a year in the world are diagnosed with it.
Wow.
And they said, we have some ideas for treatment. We have some ideas that we think will be of benefit. But in that moment and in the weeks and months that followed, as we walked through treatment with radiation and the Ronald McDonald House and all these things that we went
Yeah.
through, the thing that I took away, one of the things I took away from that was that, in those months, I wasn't worried about what was happening at the office, really. I wasn't thinking about, hey, are we going to hit our objectives this quarter? Our
Yeah.
KPIs moving up the field? Like, is that what's going on here?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. I was focused on what mattered most. the fact of the matter is that one day somebody else is going to sit in your chair. Somebody else is going to sit in my chair. One
Exactly.
day somebody else is going to do what you do.
Exactly.
But who's going to be with you at the end?
That's right.
It's those closest to you. And that was one of my biggest takeaways from that season. And that's why one of the chapters in the book is about, if you want to be catalytic as a leader, you have to choose to be family focused. Because
Yes.
they're the ones who are going to be with you. They're the ones who are going to be with you at the end. I've sat with so many people at the end of their lives, and I got to tell you, Angel, I've never once heard anybody say, "Man, I wish I'd spent more time at the office. I wish I had worked more."
Yeah.
No, what I hear are relationship regrets. I had mended that relationship. I wish I had spent more time with my kids or with my spouse. I wish I had, over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I want to be proactive, and I want the leaders that I coach and work with to be proactive and say, I don't want to end there. I want to avoid that ditch. Well, how do you do that? Well, you choose to be family focused. Now, the number one piece of pushback I get on that is, well, if I do that, I'll be living out of my car in no time.
Oh,
Understand, part of choosing to be family focused is providing for your family. That's your role in the family. But
of
the
course.
priorities that we set matter, and we choose them. They are not chosen for us. We choose.
Yeah.
I actively choose that every single day. And I coach leaders that if you want to be catalytic truly in your leadership, that's a key element.
That is key, and we say family focus. I think any father, husband,
Mhm.
right, that has children. I think our children look up to us. My daughter,
Yeah,
she's 10 years old. She looks up to me, and I have to. I think that's the number one leadership uh, responsibility that I have is with my daughter, right?
yeah,
Because and
absolutely.
my wife, the same thing.
Yeah,
Even though we're the father mother figure, we still have a leadership role to teach
that's right.
because I want her to be a leader. When she sees
Absolutely.
things in school, and I think that how important is that, Pastor, that you see, parents that don't develop themselves as leaders, right?
Yeah.
First, so that there's kids. I mean, look at the times that we're living in right now, where a lot of that leadership is not being seen at home.
Well, that's it. That's exactly it. It begins at home. It begins with what parents are doing. Maxwell says so well that leadership is simply influence, nothing less, nothing more. Who are
Yeah,
those you have influence with? Every one of your listeners has influence with at least one other person in their world,
yeah,
more than likely more than one.
yeah.
So, what are you doing with that? What are you doing to leverage that influence for the good of those you lead? That's what parents
Ooh,
can do with kids. I want to teach my daughters to use their influence for the benefit of other people. I want to teach them to use their influence to speak up for those who can't speak for themselves, to lead well. True
yeah.
leadership is not just about you; it's about those around you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have a question here for you because
Mhm.
you have it on your file here, and it says, "How can I avoid the drift toward mediocrity in my leadership?" That's
Yeah.
huge. That's a huge question.
I think as I've coached leaders, and this particularly applies to somebody who's been in their role as a leader. Any entrepreneur can fall into this over time. When you're first starting something, everything's hard because you're learning everything, right? Everything's a challenge, and everything has a growth curve and a learning curve to it. But
Yeah.
over time, it gets easier, and you begin to feel like, I got this. I'm okay with this. I can do this. If you're not careful, what happens is you begin to fall out of that learning posture that I think is
Mm,
required for catalytic leadership. You
okay.
begin to move away from having a teachable spirit and begin to feel like, well, no, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to learn anything. I don't need to ask anybody questions. I'm good here.
Ah.
100% of the time, when that happens, you begin to drift. Nobody drifts into excellence. We drift into mediocrity. And that's what
Mm,
happens 100% of the time. Mediocrity inspires nobody. Okay. And our job as leaders, as entrepreneurs, is to inspire other people, right? With what we do, with the product we produce, the service we provide. We want to inspire other people to lean in.
of course.
Mediocrity never does. Nobody is inspired by mediocrity.
No, and you're right because even those that say that, like personally say, "Oh no, I don't need to learn that," that I know it all
Right,
kind of thing.
right,
They
right.
don't know that they're putting a boundary. They're putting like a wall,
That's
like a
right.
brick wall to receive.
That's
Is that
exactly
fair to
right.
say?
That's exactly right.
Wow, that's awesome. And another question: how does your personal wiring impact your leadership?
Every leader, every person on the planet is wired very specifically. I think that we are created on purpose and for a purpose. And so
Yes.
what happens is that often as young leaders begin to lead, young entrepreneurs begin to lead, what happens is that they begin to want to mimic and copy people they admire. Right? They
Okay.
see somebody who's a great leader, a great entrepreneur, and they just begin to want to mimic them, right? And that's normal, that's natural. And I think every leader would say that at some point, at some level, they've done that. The
Yeah.
problem is when you stay there, right? At the beginning, you're trying to learn what works and what works for you and how you fit and all these things. What you're trying to discover is what I call your wiring, how you're wired, right?
Mm.
Your wiring is your gifts, your passions, your talents, your personality, the things you know how to do, how all of that intersects and overlays in you. When you discover that, what you're discovering is, how do I become the best version of me to accomplish what it is I'm trying to accomplish?
Okay.
You can try to be Jeff Bezos if you want to, but there's already one of him. you know
Exactly.
the world needs you. You were
Yes.
created for a purpose. And so what I challenge leaders to do is first discover your own wiring so you can understand how to be the best version of you, how to lead as the best version, the best leader you can be.
That's right.
That's the first step, but that's not where it stops.
Okay.
As a leader, you have influence with the people that you lead, right? Well,
Right.
I wanted to learn how they're wired. I want to discover their wiring too, so that I can then help to empower and equip them to be the best leaders they can be. When we begin to do that, we begin to see our team members not just as cogs in the wheel that are doing tasks that we need done, but instead we see them as actual three-dimensional human beings
That's
that
right.
have hopes and dreams and that have things they want to accomplish. What I've discovered is that when you discover their wiring and you help to pour into and invest in them and help lift
Mhm.
them up to achieve what's in their heart, they're not going to run away most of the time. They're going to lean into what you're doing too, because you have shown that you value them. You
Okay.
have shown that they have value beyond just what they do, what they contribute. When you
Okay.
do that, you find not only that you're helping them, but they're helping your team and your organization far more than they did before.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, why do you talk so much about evaluation? Like, what's very important about evaluation? To evaluate, right?
Yeah, the book Catalytic Leadership captures 12 of the key principles that I've discovered in my own journey and from coaching leaders for a couple of decades now, right? And these
Okay.
principles apply no matter the field, from academia to government contractors, from government employees to
Yeah.
education. It doesn't matter. C-suite, entrepreneur, solopreneur, they all apply. One
Right.
of the ones that is really easy to see across all of the different spectrums is evaluation. I talk about this a lot.
Okay.
People think that experience is what makes you better. If
Mm.
you just have more experience, then that means you automatically get better. Guess what? That's not true. There's a lot of
That's
people
true.
who've been doing the a job for 30 years, but they really haven't had
Oh
30
my
years of
gosh,
experience. They
I
have
love it.
1 year of experience just repeated 30 times.
30
They're just
times,
doing the
yeah.
same thing over and over and over again, right? That's
Oh my god.
experience, but you're not getting better. What makes you better? Experience doesn't make you better. Evaluated experience makes you better. And so
Wow.
that's why evaluation is so important, because evaluation is how we learn how to get better, how we learn what needs changing. Our team that I lead, we ask three questions so consistently and so frequently, I'm sure my team members could recite them in their sleep. And the
Yeah.
three questions, no matter what we're doing, we'll ask is, what went right? That's the first question. What went right? Right? What can we celebrate? What are the wins? What went exactly like we wanted it to about what we just did?
Okay.
What went wrong? Right? What didn't? What are we like? Oh, we've got to deal with that. We got to address that. That
Yeah.
just nosedived. And the third question is, how do we make it better? How do we make it better next time? I start with the win. I start with what went right, because I think that Andy Stanley says so well, what's rewarded is repeated, right?
Exactly.
I want to reward the wins. I want more of those. So we're going to
Right.
talk about those first. We're going to celebrate those. So often we want to run to what went wrong. Don't start there. Start with what went right. Let's celebrate that first.
Okay.
Then move to what went wrong. Hey, what didn't go right? What's a fail here? And
Yeah.
then, and only then, you move to the action items. How do we make it better? What are we going to do different the next time that we do this? That's evaluation. And that's a very simple model that I use in a lot of different areas organizationally. But as a leader personally, I also evaluate. Every week I do a weekly review and I'll look back at the previous week and I ask those same three questions. What went right? What went wrong? How would I
Mm,
make it better if I were given the opportunity in that situation again? As I
okay.
review the appointments, I review my meetings, I review all the conversations that I can think through. I go through my journal, my writings, and I think, okay, what do I want to carry forward? Because evaluated experience, that's what makes you better. I want to carry those learnings forward so I can benefit from them the next week and all the weeks after that.
Wow, that's awesome. Now that you're saying that, I'm gonna apply that for my goals. I'm gonna
Excellent.
evaluate my goals. Even don't look at the goals I didn't achieve. Let's look at
Yes.
the goals that I achieved. Even if it's the smallest goal that I
Yes.
achieved, because that's
Celebrate
gonna
that.
celebrate that. Yeah, it makes sense because then I'm gonna motivate myself. And even
Yes.
though I have the goal that I didn't reach, I'll be like, okay, well, I didn't reach this one, but I'm not gonna feel so bad, right? Because I'm
Nope.
coming from a lifted motivation. Oh
That's
wow,
right.
that makes sense.
That's it. And then you end with, okay, how am I going to do it different next time? How am I going to make it better?
That's it.
Again, you're on the up curve because you've got
Yeah,
something you can do about it.
exactly. Oh wow, I'm gonna apply that to my goals. Evaluate my goals and look at the goals that I achieved, and then I worry about the ones I didn't later.
Love that.
That's awesome. You gave me a good tip today. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mr. Attaway, man, listen, thank you for your time. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys once again. Make sure I have here the link there. Catalytic Leadership, 12 Keys to Becoming an Intentional Leader Who Makes a Difference. There it is, guys. So get your book. There's the website right there. Get it. I'm so blessed and honored to have met him, and he get sent me my copy. So I got my copy, guys. I'm definitely gonna be doing my homework, and I'm gonna be giving you some feedback, Mr. Attaway. So first of all, thank you again for that book, and thank you for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Angel, it's been an honor to be with you. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Okay.
Great.
Thank you. All right, folks. So there you have it. Mr. William Attaway. What is catalytic leadership? Thank you for tuning in, guys. I'll see you in the next episode. And please get your book. All right, get your book. Visit that website. I'm going to have the links there as well, and you'll be able to order your book. Okay. Also, for you, those of you who may be into natural supplements for the immune system. All right, my wife and we have here I have the energy. This is a good one right here. I just got my package today. Energy Go Sticks. Now for the summer. We're already in the month of June. July is very hot. You drink a lot of water. You just put this package inside the water like I have here. You put it in there. You drink it, and you have a natural energy, not that artificial sugar. No, it's natural. And of course, Gold Factor, just want to Gold Titan Award. I'm going to be sending details and the link for that as well. So visit that website there, and you'll be able to order. If you have any questions, any comments about these products, the link is there. Reach out to me, and I'll be more than glad to give you any feedback. All right, guys. So guys, thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode. God bless you. Be safe. And as usual, I want to leave you with a positive scripture, one of my favorite scriptures that I love to read and recite. I want to leave you guys with this, and it is in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 and 7. And it says, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up in due time. Cast all of your anxiety on him because he cares for you and for me. All right, guys. So there it is, guys. God bless you. I'll see you in the next episode. Stay safe.